This in-class assignment to kind of recap what we did on Friday, which is learning trigonometric ratios. We learned about the story of Chief Sokotoa. So this little acronym here, Sokotoa, helps you set up your trig ratio correctly. Sine is always O and H, that is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine, AH, the ka, C for cosine, and then the A would be for the adjacent over the hypotenuse. And then TOA, T for tangent, would equal opposite over adjacent. I'll just abbreviate that. All right, the next section is going to require you to use your calculator. And in your calculator, let me give me a new document here. Your trig functions are located underneath the blue control key. Right here, if I hit the trig, it gives me all of the trig functions I need to use. On our worksheet, we're going to just enter in sine of 7 degrees and get the ratio or get its value to the nearest 10,000. So we're just going to go to trig, click sine, then put 7, hit enter, and we get this decimal. And we're going to round it to the nearest 10 thousandths, and so that would be, if I put out 10 thousandths here, that would be to the 4th decimal place. And we're going to round the 4th decimal place to see if it's going to round up. So on our first one here, I just put it in the calculator, go back to our worksheet, it will be 0.1219, and then we're going to do the same thing for the cosine of 24. So then I'm just going to go to trig, cosine, 24 degrees, enter, and we're going to round that to the nearest 10,000, so that's 4th decimal place, and that will be 0.9135. So, oops, 0.9135. So try the tangent of 54, and yes, it will be greater than 1. So when I go to trig, tangent, 54 degrees, yes, we have 1.376838, but we're still getting around to the nearest 4th decimal place, which is right there. So when we put in our answer to the nearest 10 thousandths, it's going to be 7, and then 4. So that's just finding the tangent ratio to the nearest 10 thousandths. Sometimes it could be to the nearest tenths or to the nearest hundredths. Now, to find the angle measure, the nearest number, well, we're trying to find what angle would give me the decimal. So basically, I got to do the opposite because I know the angle. The angle is given up here, and then I'm giving the decimal. Now I have the decimal. I'm trying to get the angle. So in order to get the angle, to find each angle measure, you got to use your trig inverse. To do the inverse or the opposite of what we're doing before. So the trig inverse looks like this. It looks like sine -1, cosine -1, but that's really saying the cosine, the inverse cosine, and then the tangent, inverse tangent, okay? So I'm going to make sure you write it out, because I'm going to write it out how you would have to show it, and then how it would be typed in basically into calculator. So I want to find the measure of angle A. So I'm going to do the sine inverse, because I know the sine of whatever angle A equals that decimal. So this inverse sine, or sine inverse of 0.7245. So that is exactly what I'm going to type into the calculator. So now when I go to my trig, go to the sine inverse, and now I'm going to put in the decimal, which was 0.7245. Now hit enter, and now I'm going to round to the nearest whole number. Whenever we're trying to find the measure of the angle, we're going to round to the nearest whole. So this is actually just going to be 46 degrees. Okay, so the first one, we have it at 46 degrees. Now we're going to do the cosine inverse of 0.1212 and do your tan inverse of 0.4279 and see if you get that answer. Give you some time. And then check your work. Pause the video if you need to. So for cosine inverse, you should have got 83 degrees. And then for the tangent, 23 degrees. And then the last one I want to talk about before you look at the next video, which is going to talk about problem solving, writing a trig function equation, or to set up to solve for the missing angle on the missing side. It just says find the indicated trigonometric ratio as a fraction and a decimal rounded to the nearest 10,000ths from the diagram to the right. So the first one is cosine of angle M. Cosine is the adjacent. So here's the angle M. Adjacent would be the 20, and then the hypotenuse is the 29. So I'm just going to write the ratio 20 over 29. So they want the ratio as a fraction, so there's my fraction, and I can't reduce that fraction. And then they want the ratio as a decimal. So the fraction was 20 divided by 29. Well, there it is. Can't be reduced anymore. To get the decimal, you would hit Control and then Enter, and that would convert the fraction to a decimal. I want that decimal to the nearest 10,000ths, which is 4 decimal places again. So we would get 0.6897. All right. So you try the tangent of E, and then write the ratio as a fraction and as a decimal. Tangent of E. It's going to change what you label. Well, the hypotenuse is going to stay the same. But you don't need the hypotenuse for a tangent. So see if you get your opposite and your adjacent right. So you get 20.1, and then the decimal to the nearest 10,000ths is 0.9524. Okay? All right, so take time, check out the next video as we talk about how to write the equation to solve for x for 9 through 14. All right, thanks.